we just got some major news about Spider-Man 4 confirming that the symbiote is going to play a major part in the movie. This comes from Daniel RPK, who is an incredibly reputable leaker, and he said that the symbiote that was teased at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home in the post-credit scene with Eddie Brock, obviously, is going to be featured in the movie. This obviously begs the question, how is this going to play into the actual movie itself, and who's going to be playing Venom in Spider-Man 4? So here's all my best theories about it. Now, the first and most simple theory is that simply Tom Hardy's Venom from the solo Venom films is going to somehow get moved over to the MCU at the end of Venom The Last Dance. And the only reason I think this is actually a decent possibility is because the Sony Pictures CEO just confirmed that Venom The Last Dance will be the last of the Venom films, which does seem very obvious given the name The Last Dance. The CEO also came out and said that it's going to be an absolutely huge movie, which obviously they're going to say to promote it, but I do feel like they're going to try to jam in some multiversal Spider-Man stuff. I don't know if I can show it in the video, but we got some behind the scenes leaks of Venom 3 filming, and we saw that Eddie Brock was wearing the same outfit he was wearing at the end of No Way Home, so it's going to be tied in somehow. And the other thing is the Venom movies are making a ton of money, so I'm kind of surprised they're ending it after only 3, so it kind of makes me feel like they're just trying to clean up the timelines a little bit so they only have one Venom going at a time. However, there are some problems with this series. Most notably is that the version of Venom from the solo films just doesn't seem like it would fit as a villain in the MCU, because the only version that we've seen of Tom Hardy's Venom is more so of an anti-hero and honestly closer to a hero than anything else. Yeah, they could easily kind of explain it away by saying, oh, the symbiote's just taking over further, and now that he's in a universe with Spider-Man, it's just like natural he needs to go after him or something, but I just feel like it's not the cleanest path, so I'm going to go over some other theories here too. The second theory is that we introduce Harry Osborn into the MCU and have him end up turning into Venom. As a lot of you know, he does turn into the Venom in the comics, and we just saw this in the PS5 video game. Now that Peter's separate from Ned and MJ, I feel like him going off to college and maybe meeting a Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy type of characters is pretty fitting, but there are some pretty major issues that I feel like is preventing them from having Harry Osborn be in this next movie and end up turning into Venom. First of all, we did just see it in the PS5 video game, and I feel like they might want to try to stay away from having very similar stories in two of their Spider-Man mediums right now. But the biggest thing that's going to prevent this is the fact that Norman Osborn was in Spider-Man No Way Home. So even though it was a different universe as Norman, Peter still knows that Norman is an evil guy. And so if he meets someone named Harry Osborn, I don't know how they're going to explain that away unless Peter's just very naive and he's like, oh, this is a different universe. Maybe this guy's nice and his father's not going to turn into an evil Green Goblin that's going to try to kill me. Even if we don't get Harry Osborn turning into Venom, I really hope they find out a way to just justify having the Osborns in this universe, because I feel like it's not going to be a true Spider-Man story if we don't ever get Harry and Norman Osborn. The next theory is that Flash Thompson is the one that gets the symbiote and ends up turning into Venom, and you're probably thinking, what is this kid talking about? Flash Thompson seems like the last guy to turn into Venom. I would agree with you with the MCU version of Flash Thompson, but in the comics, this is the storyline that has happened, obviously with the more typical bully Flash that we see in like the Raimi movies. I think of Flash Thompson turning into Venom could be cool, but with this version in the MCU, I really just don't see it being a possibility. He's more of an intellectual rival to Peter than like the physical threat, so him getting the symbiote really wouldn't make a lot of sense. And even though I absolutely love this actor, I really don't know how good he would be actually having like the symbiote being this evil guy and turning into Venom. Like, it just does not seem like it would fit to me. The fourth theory is that we actually have Eddie Brock in the movie as Venom, but we just cast a new character entirely and we kind of forget about Tom Hardy's Venom. I think this would be one of the better options, because if we do have Eddie Brock, I think it would just be better to have him be like mid-20s like Tom Holland's Peter Parker is instead of like 40s like Tom Hardy. There's a really natural way to do this too. Like, now that Peter Parker is on his own, he's in his own apartment, got really no friends, he's probably going to need a job to support himself, so maybe he'll start working at the Daily Bugle. And as we know, Eddie Brock in the comics does work at the Daily Bugle a lot of the time, so they could meet there, kind of form a friendship before he actually becomes Venom and they end up fighting each other. Again, this does kind of run into the problem of being similar to other Spider-Man movies in the past, because Spider-Man 3 did do a lot of this storyline. But at the end of the day, there's only so many different Spider-Man stories you can do if you want to introduce these iconic characters, so I feel like they kind of have to repeat storylines at some point, and I would not be mad about them doing a new take on this one since Venom was very rushed in Spider-Man 3. Now, this next theory is going to sound incredibly stupid and far-fetched, but I need you to just stick with me. I just thought of this like 5 minutes ago, but I think I'm kind of cooking with something, because I think there's a non-zero chance that Zendaya's MJ becomes Venom in this next movie. I told you it was far-fetched, but just stick with me. Now, first thing you need to remember is that she does not remember who Peter Parker is, and there's really no way to have her remember the events of No Way Home without kind of making that movie feel a little bit useless and undermining it. We also know that these two are together in real life, and Zendaya is just such a famous star that Marvel Studios wants her back in the next film, so there's like a 100% chance that she does return in some shape or form. Now, what do we know about the symbiote is that it has this access to hive mind knowledge that knows billions and billions of things across different universes and all this stuff. So what I'm thinking is that MJ can get the symbiote in this movie, and maybe she doesn't keep it for forever or actually fully become Venom later in the film, but if she even has it for like 30 minutes, that's enough time to get the knowledge that she needs to know to remember the events and remember who Peter Parker is. So this would give them a reason to bring Zendaya back for this movie. It would give a reason for MJ in the universe to remember who Peter Parker is, and it would let her maybe keep the symbiote in the future and use it to fight different people, be in the next Avengers films, fighting alongside Spider-Man. Yes, I'm aware, it sounds pretty stupid, but you can't tell me it doesn't sound kind of likely. Now, before the next one, let me know in the comments what you think is most likely to happen with the symbiote in Spider-Man 4, because as you can see, there are a ton of possibilities. But what I think is most likely to happen in Spider-Man 4 is that Peter ends up getting the symbiote, but there's actually no Venom in this film. Instead, we spend all of this movie with Peter under control of the symbiote and seeing how it's starting to slowly change his personality and the way he acts. Maybe he even keeps it for the next Spider-Man or Avengers movie. We've had some really reputable leakers also come out and say that they think Black Cat is going to be in this movie, and I really can't see this version of Peter Parker falling for Black Cat. It just seems kind of out of character for him, and I feel like he wouldn't get over MJ very soon. But if you give Peter the symbiote suit and it's kind of taking over and changing his personality a lot, I feel like that's an easy way to explain why he would now be falling for Black Cat and have a good way to introduce her into this movie. Because this is really something that we have not explored a lot of in the movies. Like I said, I know the Spider-Man PS5 game just had a huge thing where Peter was just under the influence of the symbiote suit for a long time before Venom was really even in the picture. But I feel like doing something like that in the MCU would be such a cool take to have this last over multiple movies, and then eventually in Spider-Man 5 or 6, then you have him battle Venom. It could just be such an awesome conclusion.